For a woman in Kenya today, choosing minimalism is an actual act of rebellion. It's a rebellion against the relative or friend who judges your worth by the car you drive to your shamba, for example, or by the size of party you throw for Christmas. It's an act of rebellion against the beauty industry that tells us that our natural selves are incomplete without this 12-step morning and evening face routine. When you decide to own less, you are essentially saying, my value is not tethered to my inventory. Hello and welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. If you're listening to this, it means that we both made it through the hiatus and we're stepping into season 2 of Again But Softer. I'm your host, Siona, and today I want to start with a question that's been sitting in the back of my throat for months. When did we all get so tired? I don't mean the I need an extra hour of sleep kind of tired. I mean the kind of exhaustion that lives in your bones when you're constantly carrying things, both the things that you can see in your handbag or the bag that you carry, and the things that you cannot see in your spirit. Last week, for instance, I was looking for a specific scarf because I needed to pack it for a trip that I have traveled to this week. And you know, that kind of scarf that you say it's my power scarf, or the scarf I'm going to use when nothing else works out for me. And I spent about 20 minutes digging through clothes, sweeping through my wardrobe, just looking for that one specific scarf. And I've had that scarf for so many years. And by the time I found the scarf, I wasn't empowered at all. I was actually quite frustrated and sweaty. And I realized that my wardrobe, this collection of options, mostly black, was actually a collection of weights. So today we're going to be talking about minimalism. This is a concept that I know about, a concept that I have read about, a concept that I have promised myself over years that I'm going to actually implement in my life but haven't so far. Don't switch off. Please don't switch off because you think that this is something that does not concern you in any way. I'm not talking about those Pinterest photos of white walls or that one single succulent or that white linen skirt that is called aesthetics out here. I'm talking about minimalism as a quiet, radical defiance. I'm talking about minimalism, which is a shift from more is better to the liberation of having enough. In our Kenyan context, we are raised to be gatherers. We are the daughters of women who kept blueband tins or ice cream tins because we think we might need to send someone home with some food after a party. And sometimes it seems as if it's because of a history of scarcity that our instinct is to accumulate. Sometimes we even tell ourselves that it runs in the genes as well. But it's not really about scarcity. Look at what the world has done to that instinct. We are bombarded. Every time you open your Instagram or TikTok page, you see a must-have skin morning or evening routine. Every time you walk through the mall, you see a mannequin telling you that you are not quite there yet. We are told as African women that to be successful, you must have the latest hair or the newest phone, or your house must look like the latest showroom in Tigoni. We have turned the living large persona into a personality trait. But have you noticed that the larger we live, the smaller our pace becomes? It's a cycle of working more, to buy more, to store more, only to realize that the joy of the purchase lasts only 48 hours or less before the next craving hits. That isn't slaying, imagine. It is a treadmill and we are exhausted from running on it. So what happens when we stop? What happens when we look at the noise and say, no thank you? True minimalism isn't about how many items you own. It's about the space you create. It's about you defining your enough. True minimalism is what I live with every day through my sister, witnessing her decluttering her wardrobe, decluttering the kitchen if she has to, because she has learned that it is about the space you create and not the things that you own. And you will come to realize that the word enough is quite scary in the capitalist world, because enough means you're setting a ceiling. Yet, on the other end, we are told that the sky is the limit in this capitalist world. There is this profound but very quiet power in looking at your life, your home, your schedule, your friendships, and saying, this is sufficient for me. I have everything I need to be whole. You're not going to be going out there looking for more and more and more and more, because it will never be enough. When we lower the maintenance, that is the clutter, the social obligations that we hate sometimes, or the clothes that don't fit, we suddenly have a surplus of ourselves. For a woman in Kenya today, choosing minimalism is an actual act of rebellion. It's a rebellion against the relative or friend who judges your worth by the car you drive to your shamba, for example, or by the size of party you throw for Christmas. It's an act of rebellion against the beauty industry that tells us that our natural selves are incomplete without this 12-step morning and evening face routine. When you decide to own less, you are essentially saying, my value is not tethered to my inventory. Imagine the freedom that brings you. Imagine the freedom of walking into a shop and feeling absolutely no pull to buy anything because you already know that you're enough. Imagine the time you'd save by not browsing for things you don't need with money you don't even have to impress the people you don't like. That time is where your peace lives. This season, I want us to stop being so hard on ourselves. We think we need to hustle or grind or accumulate to be safe, but safety doesn't come from a full closet. Safety comes from a quiet mind. I haven't really grasped the concept of decluttering because I think that everything I own is useful to me right now. And I want to get to that point at one moment in time. When I decluttered for the very first time last year, it was not just moving piles around. During that moment, I actually noticed that there was a slight drop of anxiety levels in me. So as I study and I try to figure out how to go about decluttering, there are a few things that I want to implement with that as well. When I get to that point of decluttering, because I believe I will, I want to implement a few things that I have learned from my sister. One of them is the 1-year rule. And the one question she keeps asking is, have you worn this in the past 6 months? Have you worn this in the past 1 year? Have you used this item in the past year? Is this item, or does this item reflect the woman I am becoming, or the woman I am trying to prove I am? The other thing I want to continue doing is applying minimalism in my calendar as well. I have this running joke that my calendar is a small rainbow, because in as much as not much happens, it's full. It has been filled up with so many activities, both virtual and physical, and sometimes it can feel draining. So applying minimalism to my calendar as well is another step that I'll need to be able to free myself from the things that are not as important. Something else I'm thinking will help me get to that point is creating a sacred space in my home or in my room. And this space will be empty, so that it can also be a reminder that space is not vacuum to be filled, that it is a luxury to be enjoyed. That is very different from how I have always lived my life, because I believe that any space that's empty is meant to be filled. So this calls for a complete 180-degree shift in mindset, so that I actually get to enjoy the spaces that I have created. Remember that we are living in a time of loud noises. This world wants us to be loud and busy and hungry for more. But there is a sweetness that comes with being quiet. So this new season, we're going to explore what it means to strip away the excesses, so we can finally see the essence to everything. So we can actually accept that you do not need more to be more. That by yourself, with the things you already have, you are a masterpiece. And the clutter is just dust on the canvas. I am so happy to be back this new season. And hopefully we're going to do it with so much less weight, and we're going to continue doing it softer. Until next time, keep it light and keep it true.